Alright guys, and welcome to my first Football Manager series basically on this channel. I'm going to be Norwich on this save. It will be called something unoriginal like the Canaries, and this episode is just going to be like a pre-season roundup, so the friendlies, even though I made the assistant manager like transfers in and out, and then who you're going to be looking at, like, well, basically my fixtures for the first month of the season. So I'm going to go straight into the transfers, like the people which I've brought in. So I brought in 4 players with a total of 3.3 million, even though my transfer budget was like 3 million, and I'll just run you through who they are. So the first player which I brought in was Vangelis Moras, who I believe played last season for Bologna. We brought him in on a free. I did look at getting this Greek striker in on a free as well, just to like help him settle in, but he went to Lazio, I think it was. So unfortunately, I couldn't get hold of him. So Moras he looks pretty decent. I mean, he's got decent heading, decent marking, decent tackling, decent determination, and then he's not slow really. And then also he's reasonably strong, good jumping. So he should just be a solid defender to have really. And then when he plays, well, just the flexibility of, say, if something happened to Carl Norton, which I really hope doesn't happen, because he's our only decent right back. We could push him out to right back if needs be. So I thought he was a pretty good player to bring in. So yeah, I mean, the second player I brought in was Bresson from Bate or Bate Borisov, however you say it. And I thought he was a pretty decent signing, to be honest. I mean, I paid 500,000 up front and then 500,000 over 48 months, which brought it up to 1 million. And his wage is very low, really, considering his quality. I mean, I think he was on under £1,000 at Borisov, so you don't really have to offer a great deal to him. The only problem is that a lot of like reputable teams are after him, so you have to offer. I mean, I think he wanted £3,000, but I offered him £6,000 because, I mean, it's a pretty low wage for a player of his quality anyway. And I just wanted to make sure that I got him compared to other teams. So he's 22, so he's got plenty of time to develop. I think he's got 4.5-star ability as it is, and then he's got 4.5-star potential as well. So, I mean, his creativity isn't bad. So basically he's just going to be a creative, attacking-minded central midfielder for me. Probably like an advanced playmaker. And hopefully with things like finishing 15, decent composure, decent dribbling. Hopefully might have a few goals in it for us. So, yeah, I mean, he should definitely be a key player for us this season. The third player which I brought in was Andile Jali from Orlando Pirates in the South African League. I'd recommend checking out the South African League if you don't normally on your saves, because you can pick up some decent players for pretty cheap. I mean, there's a keeper, I think it's Kune, there's like Medise, however you say it, and then there's Jali, and he's only 21, so he's got plenty of time to develop. He's got 4.5-star potential and I think 4-star ability in defensive midfield at the moment. But the good thing about him is that, because I'm going to be playing 3 central midfielders, because he's comfortable in, well, primarily defensive midfielder, but he can also play as either a midfielder or an attacking-minded midfielder. It basically means that he's pretty flexible for what I can set his position to do. So whether it's like a deep line playmaker, advanced playmaker, ball-in midfielder, he should be able to adjust between those quite easily, really. And yeah, he should develop to be a pretty decent player. The last player which I brought in, because I desperately wanted a striker, because the strike force isn't really up to much with Norwich. Like, Morrison's okay, Grant Holt isn't shocking, but then apart from that, there's nothing really knocking around. So I brought in Darwin Quintero. I think it was Santos Laguna that I brought him in from, and I went for 1.8 million. I think it was about 800,000 up front, and then 1 million over 48 months. And yeah, he's like quite quick, decent finishing. We'll have to work on his composure a little bit, but he should be a good contrast, because when you've got Morrison or Holt as a target man, he should be a good contrast. So perhaps if the ball's like knocked onto him or he can get into positions, he's going to be the pacey side of the offence, really. So yeah, he should be a decent player. And then once again, he's got 4-star, 4-star ability now, so he's a key player now. And then he's not the oldest. I mean, he's not reached his peak years yet, so it should be a good signing in the long term as well. The players which I got rid of were Wilbraham for 20k, because I didn't really care how much I got for him. I just wanted to get him off the wage bill. Same with Ollie Johnson, who they actually released, I think, in January. Anyway, then Adam Drury, who, although has been a long-term servant to the club, he had to go, so 250,000 up front for him. 500,000 up front for David Fox, who actually isn't too bad, but I've already got quite a few central midfielders, so I decided to get rid of him. And then I loaned out a youngster, George Francoum, to Leyton Orient. So managed to get 775k from selling useless players, basically, so not too bad really. So now I'll just run through the pre-season and then what we are looking at for the first games of the season in the Premier League. So first of all, always good to beat your reserves resoundingly. Otherwise, you might as well just turn off your Football Manager and load up another game, because if you can't beat your reserves and your Norwich, then you're pretty horrendous. But that's not to say that we weren't horrendous though, as we lose 3-0 to Peterborough. Yeah, I mean, 3 goals, 3 shots on target, pretty much says it all. Then drew to Southend, which we should be doing better with really, seeing as I predicted 3rd in League 2, I think it is. Then narrowly beat a non-league side, which isn't too good. Drew to Chelsea reserves, which isn't too good either. Then basically thrashed 2 non-league sides 4 and 5-0, which will be good to get the confidence up. And then a basically comfortable 2-0 win against Kings Lynn, with Morrison scoring, which is always nice because we need Morrison to score, because the strike force, as I've said before, isn't great for Norwich. So this month we'll be looking at Sunderland, West Brom, then Bournemouth in the League Cup, Man United, where I'm just going to get absolutely demolished, and then there'll be a live commentary against Everton at home at Carrow Road. So yeah, that's what you're going to be looking for next episode. I'll run through those fixtures, and then if you want to predict a score for the Everton match, which will be the live comm, then feel free to. So I hope that you will like the video or subscribe or whatever you would like to do, as I'm going to be bringing out quite a few episodes this week, and then probably upload at the weekend, maybe one midweek video apart from that. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll see you next episode.